What is going on, everybody? We are back and we are ranking season one, which is the only season, by the way, of Welcome to Paradox. Um, this is where we take all the episodes that we saw for the season and we rank them from worst to best. And we're doing it a little differently this time than we've done it before. I actually put a little, uh, it's about the same amount of effort into it. And this will get better as we go, as I figure out better ways to do this. I'm probably not going to do it with Outer Limit, or not Outer Limits, Twilight Zone first season the way I want to do it, because I'm actually thinking about using the thumbnails from my watch alongs for these rankings moving forward. But I just didn't have the time to put it together. I won't have the time to put it together for the Twilight Zone. It's something I need to basically be working on as the season goes and doing specific things. So that's something to look forward to as far as overall design. Now, with that being said, though, we are here to rank season one of Welcome to Paradox. So let's get on over here. As you can see, we have 2 through 13, with the number 1 not being shown quite yet. Um, it will be obviously at the very end of everything. So, coming in at number 13 is Acute Triangle. Now, for anybody who did the watch along or went to the review, this should not be a surprise. I hated this episode. It is actually the only episode of this entire show that I loathe. Everything about it, except for there were a couple story beats I did like within it. I wasn't a fan of the structure of um, girl cheats on guy, guy cheats on girl with a robot, girl gets mad that he cheated on her with a robot, and then at the end they reconcile. I'm not a fan. I just not my thing. And I just wish, I don't know, something would, like, if there would have been like a murder or some sort, like the robot kills the wife or something, I might have, went more along with it. But this just wasn't quite what I was wanting. All right. Number 12 is Blue Champagne, which is our one of our more recent episodes that we covered within the last couple watch-alongs and reviews. So Blue Champagne was the one with the guy that um, ends up like VR falling in love with the lady, and uh, like experiences the VR feeler thing, where you can actually get the feelings of the person that you're watching through the VR. And then he actually had like made a connection with the girl, and down the line they eventually get together. But then like she betrays him for the corporation, and then he ends up spending what appears to be the rest of his, at least immediate time, in a VR simulation of him falling in love with her, which he'd already experienced in real time. So I don't know. I definitely love the ending. That's like so depressing that like, oh, his life's gonna suck for good, or for at least a long while. But over and above all, again, it's just not really my story. Like you're gonna find that I don't like stories with cheating involved. So like, unless there's some real good quality revenge that comes along with it, because like he starts off with a girlfriend and then falls for this woman in a pool that is technically disabled, but since she's wearing this like exosuit, she's able to function. So I don't know. Not the biggest fan of it. It definitely is not terrible like Acute Triangle was, but still not that great. All right, number 11, The Extra, and this is the one where the guy breeds all of the clones, and this lady falls in love with his clone. Or no, I won't say falls in love with the clone. She becomes super attracted to the clone, right? Um, and decides that she is going to uh, wants to be with the clone. And the original guy's like, no, what about me? Like, you could be with me. I'm rich. Why get with the original when you could have the real deal? Or why get with a clone when you could have the real deal? And she's like, no. The younger version of you is much more what I'm into. Which, by the way, when I say younger, his younger version is like 24, 25. It's not like a teen or anything like that. Nothing weird. Um, and he's like, so he decides to go through with getting like a brain transplant, uh, and it doesn't work out the way he wants. It's a pretty okay episode. I feel like there's a steep step up from Blue Champagne to The Extra because I actually do quite enjoy The Extra, and from here on, moving up, are episodes that I just thoroughly enjoy more and more and more as we go up the list, for one reason or another. And yeah, I just thought it was a pretty solid episode. Number 10 was the last one that we watched, or not the last one. I'm sorry, one of the last three that we watched as well. Options. Options was the one where the woman gets a sex change because she finds out her husband's cheating on her, and then she becomes friends with him like this, even though he knows who she is and he's not comfortable with it. But then by the end of the episode, he decides he's also going to get a sex change so that he just swap it, so that they more understand what the other one's going through. It's a pretty interesting and fascinating episode. Definitely an episode I feel is ahead of its time, whereas a lot of stories like this still wouldn't even be made today and be accepted. Um, I thoroughly thought it was pretty fun. All right, number 9 is News from D Street. All right, News from D Street was the one where the the detective, um, there's this guy that's running from a corporation, and he goes into a VR world to run, and then this detective and this lady inside this VR world try to find him because he's missing, and the corporation wants to kill the guy. And obviously, by the end of it, they end up actually protecting him and killing the evil corporation head dude. Just a really fun, almost noir setting, even though it's a digital noir. So it's just I always love the setting like that, as long as it doesn't get too far into like gangster territory. And this one tiptoed the line of gangster territory, but it wasn't full on gangster, which I know is like, if I'm not into that, why would I enjoy the noir setting? I just love the setting of the cars and the looks that people wore and stuff like that. And as with most of the show, except for the one episode that Ice-T is in, the acting is spot on for pretty much the entire show. So yeah. Sorry, I do have stuff running in the background, laundry and stuff. I just don't have any other time currently to record this, and I need to get it done. So, all right, moving on to number 8. Number 8 is Research Alpha. Research Alpha is the one where the guy gets to take ends up he's devising this potion to basically enhance human enhancement potion. Almost think along the lines of like the Super Soldier Serum in Marvel is kind of what he's going for, to make you more ahead of your time evolution wise, and it's failing at every turn, and he ends up getting fired. And in the process of getting fired, he takes the potion himself, and it starts to turn him into a monster. But at the same time, his wife takes the potion, and when she takes the potion, it does fully enhance her. She becomes like a superhuman type character. I guess the bird has also decided to chime in. So she eventually ends up fighting against the head corporation dude, which used to be like the guy's best friend that took the potion initially. He ends up dying trying to protect her. And it's a pretty wild ending. It's probably one of the very few that actually leans more into a horror side of things, with the body horror, monster transformation, things like that. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyable episode, and one I would think a lot of people would really enjoy watching. Number 7. Nope, wrong way. Number 7. Hemiac. Another one that kind of leads a little bit into horror. Hemiac is about a school, so it's in a post-apocalyptic setting, or at least that's the way they kind of explain it, where there's this school of robots who is running in a way basically to develop humanity to be emotionless, because it's emotions that are the bane of the existence for humanity. And as the school runs this, like if you're caught having any emotion, at a certain point you get kicked out of the school and thrown out to live on your own. It was a really fun episode, though. By the end of it, obviously one of the humans helps another human overthrow the robots and take out the robots, even though the robots are trying to launch, basically, or not launch, but exploded a nuke that's on site. So it was a lot of fun, and like I said, leans slightly into the horror thing, not a whole lot, not near as much as like Research Alpha did, but I did have a lot of fun with this one. My number 6, All Our Sins Forgotten. So this was one of the episodes that I was super excited in. Had an actor that I really loved in it. In fact, what's the actor's name? Brendan Fletcher. I'm a pretty big, I won't say big. It's not like I have posters or anything. I am a fan of Brendan Fletcher's, though. Again, he did the entire, what was it? Rampage series, and Rampage is a really good one. He was in Freddy vs. Jason, which is the first movie that I personally remember him in. It's not to say that it's the first one that I watched with him in it, but it's the first one that I remember him in. But it's the one where Henry Rollins plays the main doctor, and the doctor's working on a way to be able to delete memories, and he accidentally ends up killing somebody that wants their memories back. So he gets fired, so he goes and starts up his own practice and figures out how to be able to give people their memories back by being the one to read it to them. And he basically takes on all the emotional strain from it because he feels like he deserves it because his wife is dead. And then eventually, predictably so, and it's why it's further down on the list, he ends up running across the guy that killed his wife, and then eventually scrambles his brain. And then he forces himself to forget everything because that helps. But really good episode, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we're getting into the top 5, so just 5 or 6 or so, and these are all, I feel, completely outstanding. And yeah, so that's number 6. Number 5 is Our Lady of the Machine. Now, this is a funny one. When I recorded this, and it's funny because I'm pretty sure it was also episode 5, which is even more hilarious that it wound up at number 5. When I recorded this, I had it under a name of a different one because this is how I found out that Amazon didn't have them in episode release order. They just had the whole season on there completely randomized, I'm guessing, or some crap like that. But Our Lady of the Machine is basically... this isn't the one I watched. It was the next one that I watched originally. This was the one I was supposed to watch, Our Lady of the Machine. And this was the one where the Virgin Madonna... there's a Virgin Madonna hologram that was being used to basically extort money from the locals. And if they didn't give up money, the hologram had enough power to touch people and basically hurt them and or kill them. Pretty bad. Even though the hologram was legit trying to actually, wanted to help people. It's just how she was being used not to help people. So eventually the cops kind of track it down and find out where to go, and then they stop the guy and find the guy that originally created the hologram, and obviously it was not being used the way that he wanted to. He was basically locked in a little room of his own to go crazy inside the compound that everything was being ran out of. The end was super unique that I really liked. The hologram kept splitting and creating duplicates of itself, which caused the guy that was originally running the place, the bad guy, to lose his shit, and then he ended up being captured over it, and it was just really well done. And then of course the program was terminated at the end so that it wouldn't be continued to be used for bad. Now, number 4 was the one I thought this one was. The Girl Who Was Plugged In is my number 4. This was the first episode I actually watched. Now, I had it under the name Our Lady of the Machine if you go back and watch the watch along for it. I fixed it for the review, but if you watch the watch along for it, it's mistitled as far as my watch along goes, and that's because this was listed on Amazon as episode 1 in the season, and I'm doing these by episode release order, not by what Amazon or Netflix, because this isn't the only show that does this. Goosebumps did it, and I'm sure there will be others where they don't actually put episode release order for these shows, and that's what I want to see, is in the order that they were released on TV. Now, I got really lucky with, I guess, the Twilight Zone because the Twilight Zone does it correctly. But, so this was the first episode I watched. And, when I talk about having a banger of a first episode and watching something that's going to get me hooked in, this excited me. This was super dope, and I was really happy to get into this. This is the one where there's a homeless lady. She gets picked up to basically become someone who is able to, who's going through and advertising things. So in the city of Betaville, advertising is illegal. So just her wearing it is what is supposed to be the advertisement, right? So they make her super famous, and she's basically an avatar. Like, she's in an avatar, but she can feel and sense and everything, and she starts to kind of become one with this machine that she's controlling. And eventually she falls in love with, like, the mayor's son, and by the end of it, she ends up basically dying as the robot in the mayor's son's arms, because her actual body ends up dying because it's just too much for her. And again, just a really good episode. Was not what I was expecting from this show, especially with how bad the set designs were, especially in the beginning. They try to use some of the early CG, which looks bad regardless of what you're watching and it's put in. But yeah, thoroughly loved this episode. Loved the story that was behind it, and they did a really good job with this one. Number 3, Into the Shop. This is the season finale. This is the one we just watched recently, the newest episode. And my number 3. This is probably one of the more horror-centric episodes. And it basically, you have a cop car who has a mind of its own, who gets short-circuited and starts to think people are the serial killer. So it starts shooting lasers at the serial killer, or at people that it thinks are serial killers, and starts killing off people, and ends up killing like the main cop's ex-girlfriend at the end, among other things. Again, thoroughly loved this episode. Had an excellent story behind it. The acting was superb. And I loved that all the vehicles were Beetles, VW Bugs. That was a lot of fun. All right. Make sure we're back to... Okay, I had to pause it for a second. My number 2 is... The Winner. So The Winner is the one that had Ice-T in it. His acting is terrible in this. I'm not going to lie to you. You can definitely tell it's super early on in his acting career. However, the story is what powers this one into the second place spot. It's basically about a guy played by Ice-T who ends up being arrested and thrown into this new jail area where they put this machine into you that basically acts as an invisible fence. And if you go past the invisible fence, it messes with your psyche and puts you in a lot of pain. And of course, he tries to run out a couple times, and each time he gets a little bit further, but then gets stopped. And during all of this, they have this lady that's there who's basically inspecting to see if what they're doing is humane or not. And this kind of causes a little bit of an uproar where another guy actually tries to run out as well, and he ends up dying from it because he's got a bad heart. And then the last time Ice-T does it, it's to approach the lady that's trying to leave, that's probably getting ready to go tell everyone that it's a perfectly fine thing. And as he gets out there, he tells her, he's like, we're people too. And he collapses. He doesn't die, but she does go on to tell him later at the end of the episode that she's decided she's going to have it stopped. And yeah, it just ended up being a really good episode. And again, and I'm being honest, Ice-T's acting's not there on this one. It's not. But everything else, fantastic. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for my number 1, if you're familiar with the show and how it goes at all, my number 1 is Alien Jane. If you want to know why my number one is Alien Jane, all you have to do is, I'm going to tell you anyways, but all you have to do is watch the review. I loved this episode. This is the one that had the lady that plays Blossom. Blossom. She also goes on to be in Big Bang Theory. I think I mentioned that she was in How I Met Your Mother, and that wasn't the right one. It's Big Bang Theory that she's in. But, and it's one that emotionally hit me, and I think that's why it ended up being my favorite episode of the entire thing, because it's about a girl who cuts herself to feel something, but she doesn't even feel that anymore, and it just ended up being really sad, and you kind of see the development of two girls who are going through two vastly different things. One of them was like abused by her dad, and it caused her to lash out against everyone, and that's why she was in the hospital. And then you had the other girl who just was rejected by everybody, so she started cutting herself, and it's just extremely sad. Like, I almost cried a couple times, even when giving the review. I was struggling emotionally. Just really well done, and again, I don't know. I stuff like that is always going to get to me and always going to be up high on my list. Very well acted, very well performed. I would love. This was just amazing, absolutely amazing. All right, give me one quick second to switch screens. Oh, I forgot. I had one more screen. There you go. That is the top 13 in order. You got Alien Jane, the winner, Into the Shop, The Girl Who's Plugged In, Our Lady of the Machine, All Our Sins Forgotten, Hemiac, Research Alpha, News from D Street, Options, The Extra, Blue Champagne, and Acute Triangle. That is all 13 episodes ranked for your viewing pleasure. All right, now, give me one quick second. All right, this is where we pick what we're going to do next. So what we're going to do, we're going to shuffle the results 5 times. So there's the 5 shuffles. Let's do it 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The one thing we will not accept, obviously, is the Twilight Zone, because we're already going through Twilight Zone Season 1. If at the end of Twilight Zone Season 1 we roll for Twilight Zone Season 2, that's a whole new story. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and see what we're going to get. Let's big screen it, please. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, the next show we are going to try to cover, and I say try, because if I cannot find a way to do it, obviously we can't do it. So we're going to see what we're going to try to get. And let's spin as it rolls. Why does this only choose old shit for me? At least I like this show so far, though. Okay. Why? I don't know how I feel about this. Because we're already doing one old show. At least it leans more into horror than what we were just doing. I seriously think this picker wheel is just like, hey, everything old. We're just going to do all the old stuff. So I already know where I can watch this because I had already started watching it. I can delete my Welcome to Paradox list so that we can, I guess, start up with our Alfred Hitchcock Presents list. Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Okay. That's over on Peacock, if I remember correctly. Let's do a quick look. Yeah, it's over on Peacock. It looks like I can watch it on Prime, too. Let me see. If I go to Prime Video, and then we look for Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Season 1. It looks like that's to buy it. And they want like $2 an episode. That is wild. Premonition. I have a funny story about Premonition, by the way. So I've watched like the first 10 episodes of this just in my own time. Because at one point I was like, hey, you know, I watched the first 8 episodes because I remember Our Cook's a Treasure. Yeah, that's the last episode that I remember watching. So I watched the first 8 episodes of this. I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes with my fiance, and I'm gonna have to watch it on Peacock, which means I'm gonna have to upgrade to the expensive version of Peacock, so that I can get no. Unless Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Let me check Vudu. What is the collection? Ooh, $80. It's just all his movies. I don't want his fucking movies. Come on now. What are you doing? What a jerk. I mean, they've got it on sale for like $30. How many seasons is it, though? Premonition. I don't really want to buy it, is my problem. I'm going to end up spending $30 just to get through the fucking, So let me see. If I cover... It's basically a 3-4-3-4... per week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Sunday. And then, yeah, 4 and then 3. So if we cover it 4-3-4-3, give me 1 second while I just try and figure out how I'm going to do this. It would be cheaper in the long term to just buy it. I still may end up just doing, we'll see when I get to starting recording it. But at least it's something that I have access to. As far as the actual show itself, it looks like, if we come here, okay, yeah, so we can see how many seasons it is, and it has the season list. That's cool. That's what I like to see. That's super dope. Alright, so that is going to be what we watch next, folks. Again, super excited to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to buy it or get the thing yet. Again, I'm enjoying these old-time shows and movies and whatnot. It's a lot of fun. And it's also not that big of a deal because we are just about, we're like 2 or 3 episodes away from being completely done with the first season of The Twilight Zone. Now, if we get season 2 of The Twilight Zone and I'm basically just running Alfred Hitchcock Presents in The Twilight Zone until the middle of next year, I'm going to be so annoyed. So annoyed. Because, look, as much as I love these old things and I'm starting to grow an appreciation for them, I just want some good horror, too. Like, where's my Creep Show at? Where's my Tales from the Crypt? Stuff like that. But, yeah, so this is where we're at. So, yeah, Alfred Hitchcock Presents. That'll be next. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time. Love you. Peace.